Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with some more Blades in the Dark. First of all, please check out all the links that are coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We've got a channel just for this game. We'd love to hear your theories or what you think is going on. Also, if you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube and catch up over there, not just on this game, but all of our others as well, as we have put them all in playlists, so they are easy to watch. If you'd like to get into a game, head over to Twitter and drop Scrat a DM, and we will get you in a game. Please check out the content warning for this game, as it is a little bit darker and gritty than a lot of the other games. But also a huge, huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors, who we could not do this without, in the form of Maychan Press. You may have seen their Fae Folio yesterday, which is one of our viewer games. And also they have now released Dark Matter in hardback, which is effectively D&D in space, which is something everyone needs in their life. We also have Hero Forge, our new show at 2 p.m. EDT every Wednesday. Scrat and I drink a lot of coffee and try out their new beta, which has had some more updates this week. And they're creating some seriously amazing things over there. Also, we have the Deck of Many with the Deck of Many Things and the Moving Magic Spell cards. They currently have absolutely smashed their Kickstarter, so head over there and check it out. One of my favorites is that they have the level 6 to 9 spell cards now, but also an animated tarot deck card, which card deck rather. Yeah, that makes sense. Also, last but certainly not least, also Dungeon Fog. For whether it's a campaign or whether it's a one-shot, it helps you build your map and the notes to go along with it. And if you update something on the map, it automatically updates it in the notes as well, and vice versa, to keep everything organized. Otherwise, let's head round and say hello to everyone, and we will please go check out Nazgul. They couldn't make it this week. Nassim is a wonderful human being. If you could go and check out all the fabulous things they do over on the Venture Maidens, please go and do so. Otherwise, we'll hop down and say hello to Lucha Libres. Oh, hi.
Hello, my name is Simon. You can find me on Twitter at Lucha Libres, and I will be playing Spurs the Cutter.
Fabulous, thank you. And then we're going to hop over to Tiffany.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Tiffany. I am at Tiffany Shanley on Twitter. And also, I forgot to tell my castmates this. I was gifted a ton of free temporary tattoos this week. So nobody think that I just got 30 tattoos in the past 7 days. I play Blue, our slide.
I love it. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything, but they're lovely. So otherwise, we're going to hop over to the lovely Evil Clever Dog. Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Izza, and I'm at Evil Clever Dog on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm playing Rajani, the Whisper.
Awesome. Wonderful. Last week, we had Blue at Thomas's second house, and Blue walked around and sort of discovered a lot of things maybe about Thomas, sort of discovering a bit more about his family, how well off they are, and a lot of family portraits included in a secret room. And once the others arrived, they sort of explored the secret room a bit more and found one of the watch mirrors. And behind that was this family tomb. And within here was this entity, this one that everyone could feel, but in particular, Rajani could see. And it had this very ominous feeling. It felt very, very dangerous. And soon, Odessa had to go and answer the door as there was a knock at it, and one of the magistrates had come to the house along with some guards to find and arrest Thomas Wainright. Spurs to put it blatantly, chopped the arm off one of these this demon that was, as they sort of became not head to head, but there was definitely a small bit of a confrontation there. Odessa soon, in the carriage on the way back to the 13th floor, hopped out and headed off in a different direction. But Rajani, Spurs, and Blue, you arrived at Thomas's house. to warn him effectively, but by the time you arrived, it was too late. A watcher had been thrown out of the second story window and crashed to the floor. There was chaos. There were gunshots going off as Thomas was fighting these spirit wardens. And that is where we are going to start off again. So, as we do, where we last saw the group, Blue, you are stood outside the house. You have the blade ready. Rajani, you're stood on the carriage steps with a pistol drawn. And there are 5 spirit wardens currently on Thomas Wainright within the house. And Spurs, you've effectively just gone through the window with him, and he has kicked one of the spirit wardens in your direction. As it's an immediate threat, Spurs, you go first, as you can see these spirit wardens piling onto Thomas, and he tries to kick at least one in your direction. What would you like to do?
As I recall, at the end of the last episode, Spurs said something along the lines of, "You're a popular man, Thomas," and Thomas's response was, "I told them we didn't have any friends." So as he throws this person over, Spurs catches them using their momentum to turn around and haul them back out the window. As more guards come around, Spurs takes up a fighting stance. So it's backhand, block, low jab, hits the guy, comes around in a spinning kick on another person coming around from him. In that moment of cinematic breathing time, turns back over to Wainright and says, "I didn't say anything about friends, Tommy."
And as you do this, I'll say for definitely free action, throw man out the window, but could you roll me a skirmish for the rest?
Oh, we're
please?
skirmishing, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
That's all that we're doing.
I will say one of them is the ones thrown out the window was sort of you were given free momentum as it was kicked towards you. This is risky.
Risky.
Yes.
So we're how many people would you say is in here? Like a small gang's worth of people?
You've just thrown number 6 out the window.
Okay.
There are currently 5 in here. If I will say you can reach out and attack 2 with those movements. Otherwise, there are 3 on Thomas, which he's currently dealing with right now. This is just in the house.
Yeah. So I think my only thought is like Spurs is trying to engage as many of these people as possible, and like take the attention off of Wainright and bring it onto him if that affects situations.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's still risky.
Still risky
Okay.
in that sense, but
And then standard effect.
yes, please. Okay. You definitely catch the attention. The first one, you've already woofed out the window. The other ones, it's almost like you're more blocking than anything else. Yes, you are attacking, but now you can see that you're almost not circling each other, but another one comes off of Thomas. So he's only got 2 right now, and you've got 3 currently against you. They're throwing they're throwing these punches. You can see they're not necessarily skilled, it's more just brutish force on half of these, but you are managing to block and push off, and as they come back again. I will say, Rajani and Blue, where you are stood, you hear the whistles go off as more blue coats come tearing around the corner as they've heard the alarm from the spirit watchers, the spirit wardens, as they come running towards this house. You see, you're pretty sure it's Spurs as you see someone get thrown out of the lower floor window, crash through on the glass and lay there like sort of trying to get back up, but not really succeeding hugely. What would either of you like to do? You're both at an equal pace. Who would like to go first?
Can I flash back like 90 seconds? Before completely exiting the carriage, I actually want to I assume the driver is sat on the outside. So outside the like passenger compartment.
He was sat outside. He's kind of ducked. It's not like an upright sit anymore.
Yeah.
He's sort of trying to get as low as he can to get out of the way because there are gunshots going off.
So I actually want to hop up on the seat next to him. Kind of just like not injure him, but hold the knife up to his ribs and just say, get off, leave the carriage.
You ain't gonna tell me sick twice. And he almost half falls off, half staggers off the other side before darting down one of the high streets.
Cool. Okay. After that, yeah, same thing. I will kind of just leap into the fray and chuck a throwing knife at a spirit warden.
Okay.
The one nearest me, because I know I don't have amazing aim.
Could you roll me a skirmish, please?
Yeah, risky standard.
Yep. Yeah.
Ooh.
So you sort of jump off of the side of this carriage and you see one of the spirit wardens sort of rounding the corner about to tear in, and you just throw this blade and you can hear that as it sort of wisps through the air. And as this spirit warden enters the door, you see him sort of throw back for a second and drop down to the floor, and you can see through the doorway as Thomas looks at you, slightly confused as you've thrown this knife, before throwing himself back into whatever is going on inside. Rajani, what would you like to do? You've got about 4 or 5 blue coats come tearing round the corner. One of the spirit wardens has been chucked out of the window. The other one has just had a knife thrown at it. There seem to be 5 inside. But you are outside
I
the
just
house.
got a cool new ability, so
Yes,
obviously
you did.
I'm going to use it right now. Rajani sees Blue sort of tearing into the fray inside the house, and then clocks the others coming around the corner. Like shifts her eyes to the other ones and mutters some arcane words and starts to like trace her hands through the air. And I'm going to use the second effect of the Tempest ability, which is to summon a storm in your immediate vicinity with torrential rain, roaring winds, heavy fog, and chilling snow. I don't know if it's all of the effects or just you pick one of them. But I would like
sort of
to-
like whatever you want to.
I was going to say, how do you want it to
there.
aesthetically look? Rather than...
In this situation, she wants to slow them down and obscure their vision. So get like sleet pelting on them and sort of heavy fog surrounding them.
Could you please roll me...
And I have to push myself to do that. So do I take stress?
Yes, if you push yourself, you take
2 stress.
Okay.
Let's have a look.
And you still get, so you're still technically pushing yourself, so you'll get a bonus die or increased effect.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so I almost want you to roll a tune for this, purely because of what it is, but I think I'm going to get you to roll... How would you say you are describing it? Just because I want you to roll what you want to roll. Are you commanding this? Is this like another skirmish? Is this you literally...
I mean, I think it is an arcane effect. Like, I think it's an extension of her whisper abilities that maybe, as someone who grew up sort of on fleets of boats and things like that, it's one of those sort of weather worker type things where they were manipulating the weather to their advantage or their enemy's disadvantage, and so it's an extension of like her whisper abilities in that sense.
Okay. Then roll a tune for me to summon the weather effectively.
This is risky?
This is risky and standard. Oh, no, sorry, great effect.
Ooh, okay. And I get a bonus dice as well?
Yeah, you can choose since you're pushing yourself.
Oh!
Yeah.
Wow.
You have got a 6 though.
Yeah.
So, first of all, as you start to conjure this almost elements through you, you notice some of the blue coats, as much as some of them are starting to file into the house, where Spurs is. You've got Blue just in front of you. Some of them see you doing so and start running towards you. They're yelling something, you can't quite pick it up because of you focusing. But what does it look like as you strike out these 3 blue coats? And what does Blue see as this happens? Rajani, describe what Blue sees as this happens.
If anyone was watching her, they would see her, like, close her eyes and begin to trace her hands through the air with the little sort of wisps of smoke, almost smoke coming off them, like she does when she's doing pretty much any of her arcane abilities. But then suddenly her eyes open and they are, like, completely whited over, and the air around her, like, shifts, and the wisps of energy coming off her hands kind of, like, shift into the air as this fog just, like, descends from around her to, like, completely surround the blue coats.
And Blue, you feel almost for a moment like this chill, as if it sort of it bypasses you. It doesn't go towards you, it bypasses you. And as you turn and you see Rajani with that face, sort of, you've probably never seen Rajani like this before. This is completely different. And Rajani, did you say you were making it rain?
Yeah, I think sleet rather than rain. She's trying to kind of use the heavy fog to obscure their vision, prevent them from getting to the others, and then also have this, like, heavy sleet pelt down and, like, make the floor difficult to walk on, but also make it physically difficult for them to keep moving because it's like pelting against them so heavily.
Yeah. And you can hear the yells of where did this come from, as this, you sort of, with this mist, starts to swamp through. It starts, in fact, Blue, you look around your feet and you can see a mist growing, this fog, and it seems to sort of surround these blue coats, and it is leaking into the side streets as it's happening. You see other people just clearing out the area, and this sleet is coming down, and you personally feel the temperature plummet as this happens. And as you stand there and you sort of let out that breath, you see it fog on the air.
The most aesthetically pleasing thing that's ever happened in my entire life.
I love storm magic. It's great.
Yes. I just cast, like, a shocked look over to Rajani, like, when the heck did you...
Can Rajani even hear? Like, hear Blue?
I think she's concentrating so heavily on making sure that this works that she's just kind of like, they haven't seen me do this before, but it's fine. They'll just be like, yeah, it's just a Rajani thing.
You literally managed to contain about 4 of the blue coats that have come to there as they're lost. In fact, some of them, you hear the footsteps as they're running, and they misdirect and head down one of the side streets. At least 2 of them do as this happens. Back in the house, Spurs, you can see that there some more have piled in here, but these are blue coats now. These aren't just spirit wardens. You heard the whistles, you recognize the blue coats warning, and there is this moment where you see Thomas sort of, there's a moment where he's sort of getting low to the ground, and as he does, you can see a weird sort of something you've probably seen in a lot of people's Spurs, and that's the adrenaline rush. There's a slight smile at the side of his face as he throws one of the blue coats into the wall opposite, and the other one sort of swinging around, and with one sort of firm punch, heavy sort of clock to the jaw, one of them just drops. But what are you doing, Spurs, as this happens? You've currently got those 3 that you were effectively sparring and holding off. It was a very equal footing. What would you like to do?
Well, there's presumably more of them coming in, right? There's been an alert raised.
You can see a fog outside more than anything. You can see Blue just about through it. You can't see Rajani. You heard the whistles and all the feet of people running towards it, but only 3 more have come in.
I think Spurs knows that the heat is on, and it's too hot right now, so the best thing to do is to move. So I think what he wants to do is get everyone out. So I think he tries to grab Wainright, like scoop him around, grab something nearby, like this is what his home, a bar.
This is his home. This is the one you've been to many times. You've had discussions in here, but where you are right now is kind of like the entrance hall with the two massive bay windows, one which you came through.
Okay, so I think so he looks around, sees the fog cloud, figures something's going on outside, looks around, scoops up a fallen blade that is like clattered off from one of these wardens, grabs Wainright around the shoulders and goes, "All right, Tommy boy, let's go," and starts like shoving his way through the rest of the wardens to try and break out and like get to a back door.
Okay, so
swinging the blade less to like hurt people, but more to like clear a
keep them
path.
back. Okay, could you roll me a? I'm going to say skirmish again, just because as much as you're not hurting them, you're still trying to fight your way through. This is risky. I'm not great at fixed standard. Sorry.
Okay.
Thomas is kind of half going with you, but he at first he's not resisting, but at first you really had to get his attention because his attention is elsewhere.
Yeah. And I will be pushing myself to give myself a bonus die for it.
Yes. Okay. So, as you are heading out the back, you've got this blade. You've also got Wainright kind of like flinging at anyone who comes slightly close to you. So you manage to. He's not really. You're half dragging him out of the back more because he doesn't know what's going on. And the other thing you notice is that pistol that points through this fog that is now leaking into the house, and you hear that bang as it goes off. You hear Thomas scream in anger as you notice it hits him right in the thigh, sort of just above the knee. If anything, he doesn't look... It looks like it really hurt. You can see the blood starting to well up by where his, just where around his knee is, just above. If anything, you notice it makes him get angrier and he tries to fight back, but on that roll you can drag him. You know, you've been here before. You know there's a back door. You know there's like a kitchen. To go through the kitchen, there's a back door that leads around the back, and you can sort of... Well, describe, how'd you back up after Thomas has been shot?
Yeah, so I have 2 6s, which should make that a crit.
Yep.
So I think we're getting out of here, even if he gets hit.
Oh, you're out. You can get out. I want you to describe what this looks like.
Yeah, I'm thinking sort of piecing it out. I could try and resist that. I do have bodyguard, should make that a little easier. But I'm very close to marking a trauma, which would take me out of this whole encounter, which I think is probably not what everybody else would be interested in having happen. So we'll work with it. So I think the fog is maybe like starting to come into the building, like kind of wisping over the cracked window. In his mind, Spurs is like in full tactical mode. Like whatever is happening outside is nothing matters except what's immediately in front of you. Assess all exits. That's the way out. Okay, we're going this way. No. You don't go down that hallway. You come back with me. Swing. Get to, maybe there's someone around the back that Spurs like just shoulder checks out of the way. And then uses the blade, hefts it up, and like jams it into the door and splinters it like a lever, and uses it to like kicks that down, and then grabs Wainright and like starts to like throw him just like out of the door, like you go. Like you don't want to be in here. You're going out. And I think as he's like pushing him out of the door, that's when he gets hit. And he sort of like fall stumbles into the street.
Yeah, you can see that moment as Thomas is half running, not running with you. It's almost like a conflicted look back. Should I be doing something? But you're telling him to run, and you get the feeling that he trusts you on your instinct there. And as he gets shot in the leg, he sort of falls over the sort of the threshold of the door outside and yells, and he's getting back up. And you can, anyone, especially because of with the blade you have as well, you notice one of the younger spirit wardens looks at you and just backs right off because you effectively explode out of this back door. And the other one, he's just seen you come up and shoulder into the side. Blue, what are you doing? You can see this fog that Rajani is making, this storm, and you can't see the blue coats. You can hear some of them. You hear people still in the house, but you can't see Spurs or Thomas through the window anymore.
So, in Blue's youth, she was a pageant contestant, and her talent was ventriloquism. And so I'm gonna try and which I feel is aesthetically appropriate for this for Doskvol, that people would be into a ventriloquist. So seeing the fog that Rajani's now created, I want to try and throw my voice so it sounds like it's coming from sort of inside the house. And I'm just gonna say, upstairs, let's run upstairs. But I'm gonna try and make it sound like I'm coming from inside the house because I think I can confuse the blue coats that way.
Okay. Roll a command for me.
Risky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why I asked. Of course.
Oh. Blue, you stand and you start throwing your voice, or at least you're trying to throw your voice. It's upstairs. And as you do, Rajani, there's a moment where you can sense Blue in front of you, and then that moment where two blue coats come charging into the side of Blue, and Blue, you are knocked down to the floor. You're knocked down as they start climbing on top of you to try and restrain you as this happens. And they're going, they're yelling something at you, but in the commotion you can't quite hear it. But they are trying to restrain you, to arrest you.
I want to roll a skirmish and try and fight them off. Okay. Is there a devil's bargain you want to offer me to get a bonus die on this? Because I'm not good at skirmishing.
I can afterwards, as you've already done a command. So Rajani. What would you do? You're muted, Rajani.
Sorry. If I try to help her, does that make my other thing go away, or can I keep the storm up and also try to help?
I think it would keep going, but it would be slowly stopping. It wouldn't be boom, it's gone. It would be slow, as if the storm is leaving rather than anything else.
Well, I think just immediately, given what you described, how she can feel Blue there and then suddenly she's not, Rajani would just react on instinct, and she still already had the pistol in her hand, so she's not going to shoot blindly because she doesn't want to hit Blue. But she will try and grab for one of the spirit wardens or blue coats and just smack them in the back of the head with the pistol, try to knock one of them out.
Okay. What I will say then is, could you both, as you're doing this in the same scene, both roll a skirmish for me? Blue, you can do this with, I will say you can do this with advantage purely because Rajani is pulling one of them off of you, so you can roll twice. This is risky. Also, before you roll, our lovely Crusade Warlords has come in and donated Rajani and Blue a nat 20 each.
Oh! Do we use them now?
If you want to use them now.
I'm very tempted because I have no points in skirmish, and Rajani is a very weedy young woman.
I think you should use yours. I think I'm going to save mine because you gave me advantage, which I think is the equivalent of a bonus die, right? In this, in this system.
So how do I still roll, or do I just say
no? You can just say you use it. You just say you use it. Okay.
Rajani suddenly becomes very good at physical fighting.
Well, they don't expect you, so I feel like that's a good.
Yeah.
The 20 counts as a crit. So, first of all, Rajani, I want you to describe this badass moment that you effectively rip these people off of Blue as Blue is fighting back to Blue. On that roll, you can definitely get out of. You realize they were trying to bind your hands at the back. You can get out of that and start fighting back. Rajani, what does it look like as you completely destroy these two?
Smash his skull in with the pistol.
Yeah.
No. She's her concentration, and her eyes are still whited over, but her concentration is firmly set on commanding this storm. And then when she senses Blue being pulled away, she just turns around with this like uncharacteristic fury on her face and just goes, "Get off her!" and runs and grabs one of the spirit wardens and just thwack on the back of the head with the pistol.
Yeah, you can easily get that, like, Blue, you're trying to fight back as you get out of these bonds, and one of them that is currently trying to hold you back down to try and bind your hands again. You just see that dead sort of, like, stare as this sort of honk you can hear just falls off the side of you, and Rajani stood there brandishing the other end of this pistol, heaving a little bit, and you can see a real fury on their face as this other one starts to back up.
I'm just looking at Rajani with total awe. Like, today, Rajani has been like Wonder Woman.
Okay. Spurs. You've got Thomas trying to stagger away. He's not too bad. He's still like on his feet. He's pushing. He's just not as fast as usual. It's almost half dragging his leg. Are you running around the side of the house to the front, or are you headed in a different direction? What is Spurs doing?
Well, I don't think there is no plan here. We sort of like jumped out of a carriage and immediately went into a conflict. So I think if he's gonna go off in another direction, he probably should signal to people what's gonna happen or do that. So I think probably his best bet is to start looking for a method of transportation that he can take. So if I think his immediate plan is to look for like a cart that could be taken, throw Thomas in the back of it, and then try to bring it around the front to pick the rest of the team up.
Okay, so around the back, because this is where some of the things, this is still a working street. There are a few things you see. You see one of the actual carriages with the rams that are sort of pulled over. There is a driver effectively on the front of it that seems to sort of pulled over to see what on earth is going on. And stood there, looks a little bit shocked as they see you burst out of the back door. You can also see what looks like a kind of like a merchant's cart, but not quite a merchant, like a trader, something that would have had food on is being taken to market. There's a ram at the front, but it is literally, there's no cover. It is a cart sort of thing. There's lots of bits and bobs. Like, what would Spurs go for?
All right, so here's what happens then. He goes to that first carriage. So he's dragging Thomas along, who I think is like screaming bloody murder.
He's yelling. He's kind of running with you, but his face is in the other direction, yelling at the spirit.
So he's like occasionally like reaching back and pulling him along, and trying to get him to come along while he's limping. Like we'll take care of the leg in a second. Just quit your belly aching. Gets him up along the street. Sees the first carriage that's still sort of like moving along. He leaps up onto the carriage and pulls himself up, unholsters a pistol that's strapped to his leg, and jams it in the side of the driver, and says, "You can keep your legs, or you can give me the carriage, or you can lose your legs, or give me the carriage. Decide."
Roll a command for me, please. This isn't risky. This is a poor little carriage driver.
Okay. So controlled
Controlled
standard
and standard.
effect. I'm going to push myself for a bonus die as well.
Okay.
It's a 4.
Okay. On a 4, you can see this carriage driver sort of pause for a moment, looking down the end of the barrel of the gun, and you see him as if he's going to go for a pistol himself. And as you say what you do, sort of pauses, and he doesn't jump off scared. He sort of backs up, realizing he's got a gun as well, but yours is in his back, effectively. So he stands up. He's like, "Don't you dare break my carriage." As he sort of starts to slowly climb off, he doesn't turn his back to you once, but he gets off fully and puts his hands in the air and stares at you as you do this. Did you say you chucked Thomas in the actual carriage?
He's like dragging Thomas behind, so I think Thomas is like standing in the street because Spurs is like up on the carriage itself. So I think while still standing there with the pistol leveled at this guy, not breaking eye contact, he like snaps behind him and gestures like get in.
Thomas is just like, all right, as he sort of like half drags, then throws the door open and climbs in. You hear a lot of groaning, more just from the pain in his leg, and you can see there's blood that is currently sort of seeping down the side of his leg, but he does get on.
And as the driver says, like, don't you dare break my carriage, Spurs just smiles and goes, I wouldn't dream of it. And then gestures with the pistol, like, on your way.
He sort of glares. He doesn't leave, but he definitely takes a massive step back. More that he's, because there's a lot of chaos in the street, he's trying not to enter it. He sort of steps back against the wall and watches if you just take his carriage away.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and then start to drive it around the front.
Yeah, this huge ram sort of like, you hear it bleat, and these huge horns that sort of clank together against some of the, I've forgotten the word for it, reins, that's it, I keep saying railings, reins, as you steer it round the corner. It's quite, it's not going at a high speed, but it's not like a slow trot, it is going fast, so you can sort of feel it really hitting on the cobbled steps. Blue and Rajani, you are at the front as you're sort of poised over these two wardens. You can hear more whistles for bluecoats, but you also see this carriage tearing around the side of the house. You can see Spurs atop of it, and sort of like looking out the side, very unhappy is Thomas.
As she sees this, Rajani will then take another look back to check if there are more blue coats coming from the same direction, if she can just give like one last push to the effect she's already summoned and just kind of like send a whole bunch of sleet their way.
They seem to be coming from that direction, but you can definitely do that last push, almost like a wave, like when the wind catches sleet and really sort of stings the side of your face when the weather starts to pick up. It's almost like one last gust of wind.
Yeah, and maybe like make some more really heavy fog in the, like, blocking the path between where the blue coats are coming from and them and the carriage, so that maybe as they drive off they won't see what direction they go. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, definitely with the fog. You might think a few of the ones in the house would have seen it, but they're also not fully focused on you, as they think Spurs has gone out the back door, so they run in that direction. Yeah. But Spurs, you pull round. What do you do?
Your ace in the hole is here.
Question. As I see Spurs pull around, is the carriage he is driving and the other carriage we took that is still in front of the house, are they identical? Are these like Doskvol standard issue
They're
carriages?
kind of like standard, they've got the ram, they've got they're almost, the best way to look at it is like as if it's a taxi. It's kind of, they all look the same.
So the color on the outside and everything is the same?
It's all the same.
So I'm going to jump on the other one and follow him.
Okay.
That's a good idea. I'll get in the one with you just so we're 2 and 2. Okay.
And you both take off. I will say behind you, you hear a rumble of other carriages. You hear the blue coats yelling, and you have a feeling they're not on foot.
Yes. I mean, I just turned to Spurs and I'm like, get going, we'll follow, and close the damn curtains.
Thomas is just as he closes the curtains. Okay, so you're in the street. The fog is slowly clearing. Not massively, you can still hear, but as you do, you see this shroud of fog. You can see some of the watchers and the wardens like laying on the floor, either knocked out or one of them has a knife in their back. You can see the glass that's come from Thomas's window over on the floor, but through this fog, a carriage comes thundering through. These 2 rams pulling it as it almost skids around the corner. And you hear those whistles again as you do see a blue coats carriage come tearing towards you. It almost like a ghost emerges out of this fog towards both of you. What do you do?
I know what I would like to do.
Yep.
So the carriage is driving forward. Spurs, I think, looks back over his shoulder, sees that, and quickly lashes the reins to like a nearby like python, just like a knob, temporarily. He still has the pistol on his lap, so he leans back around, and I'd like to attempt a wreck to shoot the wheel off of the carriage as it's chasing us.
Absolutely.
All right, now I have no dice, and if I mark any more stress, then I'll take a trauma and I'll leave the scene. Yeah. So we're just gonna do it as is. We're gonna do it live. What would you say the position and effect are?
It's risky, great effect. I will say you can hear another carriage from somewhere, but you can't see it, and you don't think they've seen you because of this fog.
Sure. Risky and great effect. So I use the worst result.
Oh. Okay. Oh damn! Because you got a 6 as well.
Them's the rules, baby.
These are the rules. But you sort of, what does it look like as he tries to shoot? As it happens, like as it goes there. Before I tell you the result, how is he doing?
God, he shoots blue.
No, it doesn't shoot blue. Blue is fine.
I think. Well, so the fiction is that nobody's really actively driving. Like the reins are tied up, so the mount is just going off, and it's a crowded street. So I think he's got one hand on those tied reins, and then the other, like he's focused more on trying to line this shot up. So I think it's interesting to me if like he does hit, but the problem is nobody's driving, so like either he hits the carriage, hits something, or like he's so focused on taking that shot he takes a hit himself. But I think it's just like a moment of trying to line that shot up and like hedging his bets that whatever this will do will outweigh any negative consequences of not paying attention to the road, which of course, as we all know, will not work out well.
You, almost as your gunshot goes off, it does hit their wheel. The thing is, it also spooks the ram that is currently driving your carriage forward, and it sort of bolts and moves all over the place. Your carriage is swung from side to side. So as you set off that second shot to try and really hit the wheel, it goes wild. And as it does, this other carriage, this Bluecoat's carriage, is catching up, but where you've hit the wheel, you can see it sort of juddering all over the place. Like there's a lot of wood splintering as it collides with the carriage you are in, and it absolutely crashes into it, and you can feel your carriage starting to tip up on its side, but it's caught on the Bluecoat's carriage. So you're kind of attached to each other. And as you've sent this back, the ram is going wild. You're seeing people diving out of the streets as you crash into some of the stalls, dragging some of it with you before it falls and tumbles off. And then you've got this moment where some of the Bluecoats, there seems to be 2 Bluecoats in this carriage. One of them is climbing through the window towards Thomas. So you can hear a scuffle. You do see a foot come through the window into this Bluecoat's face, but one of them does get on the roof, and this is all over the place. Blue and Rajani, have you already set off, or like did you already get the carriage moving, or?
Yeah, I was driving, so I'm following Spurs. So does it go Spurs carriage, Bluecoat carriage, and then us?
Yeah, you sort of took off. It's more that the Bluecoats accelerated and collided, and you can see, and I will say Spurs, you definitely feel it. The carriage is tilted, so it's effectively running on wheels onto one side, because the other wheel is now caught on the Bluecoat's carriage, where it is smashed into the side of it. And Blue and Rajani, you can see this.
Holy shit!
Can we try and shoot at the guy who's trying to climb in through the window? Are we close enough to?
Oh yeah, you're not far off. It's not like a long distance. This is very, very close quarters.
I'm gonna pull out a pistol and try and shoot the guy who's climbing into Spurs' carriage window.
Okay. Could I have a skirmish, please?
Risky standard, right?
Risky standard.
Ooh, okay.
5. As you sort of point that
three,
pistol... Where is it? Sorry, I didn't...
Lowest result, so
yeah,
3.
3.
Yeah.
I thought that was 2 5s. You sort of
Don't
pull
know why I
out that
told you
pistol and fire, and you see that smoke go off from the pistol and the smell of the gunpowder, and this blue coat that is like half in Spurs' carriage, half in the other one. You catch his shoulder. As he does, he falls out of the... You hear a yell, and it doesn't seem like the bullet went in. It's like it grazed across, but either way, it hurt. He sort of falls out of the blue coat carriage, but is currently half in Thomas's carriage and starting to climb his way in. Rajani, what are you doing?
She's going to do the exact same thing. That was her first thought as well, as try to shoot that guy. So I guess she's aiming for like maybe one of his arms that's keeping him held up or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no points in skirmish, so we'll see how it goes. Oh! Yay! We started off so strong.
Okay, so you're sort of trundling along fast in this carriage, and you lean out and you aim the pistol yourself, and as you do, you fire, and you hear it go off again. And as it does, you can see that this blue coat notices you about to do it and throws himself tumbling into Spurs' and Thomas's carriage. The bullet, Spurs, you very narrowly get missed by this ricochet as this bullet sort of darts past you. It's more that you hear it before you see it coming. Completely misses you, but it's there. And there is one other blue coat that is taking a running jump from their carriage roof onto Spurs' carriage. Spurs, it is your turn.
Well, I think... well, the carriage is still moving?
It's moving. It's moving.
As long as it's moving,
goodness.
it doesn't matter. I think... It's a flintlock, so he's just going to whip the flintlock pistol around and take up that fighting stance, standing up onto the moving carriage, and whips the pistol around so it's like a club, and then takes up the position like, all right, you want to do this? Let's do this. And they sort of get into a fist fight as they like try and swing, and he goes like for like tries to crack the other guy in the head with the butt of the pistol, and hopefully get him like enough shaken up that he can sort of just like get a good shove and throw him off the...
Sure. This blue coat doesn't look the most confident blue coat. He looks like he's maybe out of his depth already, but he is a lot bigger than the other ones. You think he's probably on the roof of this carriage and staying on purely because of how big he is. He's got one hand sort of gripped on the side as he's looking at you. So he slowly sort of stretches up. You see him wind his shoulders, and again just takes the position very much like you do. He doesn't have a gun, he doesn't have anything to hit you with, but he is taking the position. Could you roll me a skirmish, please?
Yeah, totally.
This is standard and forgotten the word for it, controlled.
Controlled.
I lie. Risky. Sorry, I don't know why I said
I was
controlled.
gonna say, like,
You're literally on
it's a giant guy on top of a moving carriage. Like, I'll take the controlled roll if you want to give it to me.
No. This is all good.
Risky, you said?
Words. Yes, please. Risky.
Okay. And standard effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a 3.
3. You sort of, there's a moment as you sort of try and swing and knock this guy on the head with the butt of the gun, and as he does, you do sort of knock him slightly, but he sort of weaves underneath you, and you just see this fist come into your face, and it knocks you back. It knocks you full on the floor as this just woof. You suddenly realize how this guy probably isn't nimble, but he's heavy. He's using his weight. This isn't skill here. as you feel this fist come smashing into the side of like your face and nose as this happens. You are knocked backwards. I need you to, let's have a look. Could you please
Well, I'd like to
roll?
resist that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm assuming you want to resist.
So, here's a question. I don't want to cheese this. I have bodyguard, which means that when I protect a teammate, I get +1 die to my resistance roll. Technically, that's when I'm taking the protect action to step in and take somebody else's damage. Would it apply here because I'm also trying to keep Thomas
You're
from
trying to
getting
keep Thomas
ganked?
safe, so I will say it does work in this occasion. Because this one was also, as much as he's on the roof, he's trying to get into the carriage. He's not here for the ride.
Yeah. So that would be prowess because I'm resisting physical strain or injury. I've got the bonus die. Survey says. So I take 1 stress, which is exactly enough to put me over. I mark my last stress box, so I mark a trauma, and I am out of action. But I will come back later with all of my stress cleared and a trauma.
You have this moment as this punch does hit you in the face. You don't fall. You don't fall back or anything like that. But you just feel like that blood run down the side of your face as he sort of bloodies your nose. And you start to stagger back a little bit. And I will say, Blue and Rajani, you can see this as Spurs full takes a massive whack to him. What would Blue like to do?
So
Can I cut in real quick?
yeah.
I think, so I'm out of this whole thing. I think actually what happens is he hits Spurs at like just the right angle to send him flying off the carriage and like into like plowing through like a market stall or something.
I was gonna say,
And so we don't see him, like all we see is the impact and the dust and stuff like flying in the air, but we don't know what happens to him like on the camera.
I was going to say, did you want to leave the carriage?
Yeah, he gets
I
knocked
want to
off
give you
the
the
thing.
option because you didn't technically fall. So you do see, you see the debris left behind, and Thomas trying to climb out the side of this carriage window.
So since I think we said this is a normal load. Let me know if this is too far-fetched for you, Alice, that I would have brought this with me, maybe from Thomas's old family house. But I do have the option to have climbing gear with me to take up 2 load. Specifically, a grappling hook and coil of rope. And
is it something Blue would have hacked? Because at Thomas's house, literally wealth there wasn't anything there, so if
they don't like vacation in the Alps,
it's kind of more like his own personal bank rather than anything else. But if you think Blue would have taken this when he told her that she needed to, mind you came from
the thing is, I was kidnapped from, I like literally haven't been home. I was kidnapped, and then I went to Thomas's house, and I went to Thomas's other house. So those are the only places that I, for some reason, would have picked up a climbing.
I think, well, like, rules is written, you sort of just, like, have whatever you need.
Yeah.
So I
I was
wonder if,
thinking-
like, you could have stolen it on your way out as, like, I'm going to need some rope.
I was going to say,
could I maybe have found it in the carriage? Like, maybe the carriage driver has it?
That's fine.
Well,
Like
one,
the
I
taxi
think
has
you
it?
could have either found it in the carriage, or 2, you could have still had the rope on you that was used to tie you up.
Ooh, okay, that's way darker. So I take the rope that was used to tie me up that I escaped with. I was gonna keep it as a souvenir of the most exciting day of my life. And I want to try and basically throw it out like a lasso and grab onto something from the other carriage, the Blue Coat's carriage, so that I can like pull it back. And lash it to our carriage instead, and almost like pull it off of Thomas's carriage.
You want to pull the Blue Coat off of
the whole carriage.
The whole
I want to
carriage.
lash that carriage to this
see what you mean.
carriage.
Okay. Okay, so you want to literally pull this cat, dislodge it from the blue coat.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell our rams to stop.
Okay. That is going to be... hang on. I kind of want to say finesse because it's
Yeah.
I'm going to say finesse purely because you got to aim it. You got to get it right.
And I'm going to take the nat 20 on this one.
Absolutely. Okay, so describe what it looks like as you do this.
So I am like reaching under the seat. I pull out the rope and I'm just going to really hastily, like tie a knot, loop it over. And I was thinking maybe there's like decorative little, almost like the thing on the front of your car on kind of like the top edge of the carriage, like maybe little like ram's heads. And I'm just going to catch one of those and like hang on for dear life, trying to like get the other end of the rope around maybe the bench that the driver, like the driver's seat, anything like that. Yeah. And tell the rams to stop.
Okay. You can sort of you yell at these rams almost like as you command them to do so. I will say as you used a nat 20, you don't need to roll a command for that. But you manage to sort of dislodge the Bluecoat's carriage, which just goes careering off and smashing into the side of a shop, which is kind of like a mixture. There's some stalls, but it's also a brick wall where there's a house that just crashes and upturns with people sort of flooding away from the scene. You can also see that Thomas is currently climbing onto the roof of the other one as you sort of pull it over and stabilize it so it's upright to get to this other blue coat, Spurs, you can't see Spurs anymore. So you see Thomas on the roof currently in his own sort of brawl as they're throwing. They seem to be fairly... Thomas is smaller and not as broad, but they seem to be throwing fists more than weapons here. Rajani, what are you doing as Blue does effectively attach the carriage and right it?
Well, seeing Spurs get booted off the carriage, Rajani is angry again. And I still have a bunch of stress points left. So, so Thomas is like duking it out with this guy on top of the carriage, right?
The carriage is slowing down because Blue has just screamed at these rams to stop, and they're slowly sort of coming to a skidding halt.
They're on top of the carriage that is being slowed, not on
it's
top
being
of...
slowed.
So Thomas is like Oh, Thomas is on top of the blue coat carriage.
No.
No.
The one Spurs was in.
Right. Okay. So that's like
that
disappearing
still,
into the distance, kind of.
That one's still going. Rajani's going to hurl a bolt of lightning at the guy that Thomas is fighting.
Roll an achieve for me.
Angry Rajani's the best.
Angry Rajani. Is this risky and standard or?
Oh no.
Yes.
No, it's no. We'll say still risky because Thomas is right up there with it.
And is the effect great again because it's a special ability? Is that the rule?
Sorry, say that again. Cut out slightly.
Sorry, last time the effect was great. Is it the same again?
Great. Yeah, we're going to do that just because of this poor guy. Yeah.
Oof.
Okay. So there's this moment as you throw this. Is it you? Are you literally just throwing like a bolt of lightning? What is it you're throwing?
It's again similar to before. It's almost like she just reacts on instinct alone, and she starts like carving her hand through the air with these little wisps of arcane smoke coming off of it, and then this light just sort of coalesces in her hand, and she just hurls it towards the guy that Thomas is fighting with, and they just will see like it's like when you see lightning like go down, cut through the sky. It's like that, but coming straight from her hand, cutting through the air and just like hitting the guy right in the chest or something.
And as it does on a 4, you can see this guy sort of shake momentarily. He doesn't seem to move off of the carriage on a but as he does, Thomas looks to you as this lightning heads towards the guy on top of the carriage as they both come to a stop. And as this man looks like he's about to come round again, Thomas just one last punch.
And she'll yell,
sends him.
Get over here!
And sends him off the side. And the carriages have stopped. And Thomas is trying to climb down. I will say the streets are a bit of a ruckus as people are sort of crowding around trying to come and see what on earth is going on. You've got people trying to just get out of the area. Some of them are running to the carriages to loot them, even though there doesn't seem to be much there. But Thomas, you see him sort of half jump, half fall down and land on his leg and fall over. But he does pull himself back up.
Can I say that in my equipment we could have subterfuge supplies, which says it has like a reversible cloak and a distinctive hat, a forged badge of office. Can I just throw this on Thomas?
He already has a distinctive top hat and coat, so what are you putting on it?
Well, we're throwing off the distinctive top hat, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Rajani, put the distinctive top hat on the blue coat.
Oh yeah, just like put it on
just a close swap situation.
Yeah, no, also you can absolutely do that.
Try to like duck into a side street and just kind of like put this stuff on him.
While Rajani does that, what I do is I just take one of my knives, and I just cut the rams loose and like slap them on their butt. So they just like take off running without the carriage. So to create a little bit more chaos, so Rajani and Thomas can get into this alley and do this clothing swap situation.
Yeah, you can both of you pull Thomas into one of the alleyways just to get out of sight as people are flooding towards this area now to see what on earth is going on. And Spurs, you are laying back in this stall. The wood is broken beneath you, and you sort of sit there for a minute, and you see a face come over you that looks like a very fairly old lady. She's like, "Do you mind?" As she looks down, it's like, "You have ruined my get up," and she's got this like a stick or something, and she's trying to get you off of this, and it's not like hurting you in the way that you're going to take damage, but she is hitting you with this stick. You've got a bloodied nose, and I'm feeling probably broken, so it's a little bit wonky, but there is a lot of blood over your face. She doesn't seem to care at the moment. You've broken her stall.
Yeah, I think he's got cuts and stuff all over his face, like lots of nicks and bruises. Clothing is dusty and all torn up. And so she's thwapping as he's sort of coming to. I think his hand goes up and grabs her wrist very firmly but gently and says, "Kindly old women are one of the few things that I haven't killed yet. Do not make today the one that I start."
And you just hear, "Oh!" She starts trying to like get her stick back. It's not really. She's not trying to hit you now. She just wants her stick back.
And he gently like lowers the hand, tosses a few coins at her, and doesn't brush himself off. Just turns and walks, and says, "That should cover the damage."
And she almost ignores you as she jumps to try and get the coins that you sort of throw in her direction. But you make your way, and you can definitely see the trail, the carriages, so it's not like you can't find them. You sort of follow the line of chaos.
Yeah, I guess after we've taken care of Thomas, Rajani will start looking around to see if she can see Spurs anywhere, and sort of asking like, did anyone see where he landed?
I did not.
Spurs, would you think Thomas would have seen where you landed? Because he did have his head out the window, but...
he might have had like an idea.
Yeah. I think Thomas is sort of just gesturing wildly as he's trying to do something with his leg. He's sort of just like, well, there's going to be something over in that direction, as he sort of gestures. And Spurs, are you moving with secrecy, or are you literally out in the open walking?
Oh, right now he doesn't care. He's just walking like in the open, covered in dust and debris and blood, just beelining straight after where everyone else was.
I would say Blue and Rajani, you just see him walking through what looks like you just see Spurs. Yes, looks very, very messed up, looks very, very all over the place, but it's just walking through the debris that has been left from this carriage?
So are there, the main thing I want to look around for is spirit wardens or blue coats like coming after us.
They seem to be
Yeah.
more charging the direction of the carriages where you hit the, they haven't, especially because you, Thomas and Rajani, went into like a side alley. You feel like they because you sort of spurred the carriage to keep going. They seem to be following that first.
And what district are we in? I guess we're still in Charter Hall?
Or
no, sorry, Brightstone.
No,
we're still in Brightstone.
Yeah, you're still in Brightstone. That you think is why there's probably more commotion than anything else. There's a lot of well-to-do people out, like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, and we were heading south towards the docks this entire time. Is that correct?
I don't think you decided. I think you were heading back to the 13th floor, weren't you?
We didn't really know. We were just going to try and find Thomas, basically, and we didn't have a plan after that, and we saw him being attacked, and we just...
Right, and we took off in, like, a random direction, so I guess... What direction would you say that we took off in? And almost, I don't think we really would have thought about it strategically.
Yeah, I think it was
just
like
at random.
It was just the opposite direction from where the reinforcements were coming. It wasn't, we didn't choose it.
Right.
Okay,
so logically, I think maybe the reinforcements would have come from like Charter Hall. Like that's where a lot of them would be. So maybe we were heading like west towards the water.
Mm-hmm.
I am just gonna walk up to Rajani and Thomas and just say, I think we're just going to have to meet up with Spurs elsewhere. We have to keep moving. We have to get further away from the scene of the multiple serious compounding crimes.
I will say you do see Spurs at a moment, and thank you, chat, for Spurs to receive a thing. And Spurs, you're walking through this debris of the carriage, and you sort of head up towards where you can see where the Bluecoats carriage was completely smashed into the side of it, and people are sort of ferrying around to get things. You can see a Bluecoat just wide-eyed dead on this path in the crash, and in his hand is clutched a small book, almost like not a diary. It's not a diary or anything like that. It's like a notebook, a note taker book as you see this. And it looks sort of like they were clinging onto it for dear life, but as it wasn't thrown from their hand as they were thrown from the carriage.
So it's like a little moleskin journal.
Like a little moleskin journal. It's very small, but it seems to be,
Okay, so I guess he, as he's walking, like looks down and goes, pries the fingers off, just picks it up and like maybe occasionally like cracks the spine and takes a look down at it as he's walking straight.
And you're sort of flicking through the pages, and the first kind of 15 pages are just notes on, it's things to remember. It's almost like half it, you'd be like, it's a shopping list at first. And then you've got the list of names, like the magistrate, the one that turned up at Thomas's house, speak to, meet with, and it's a list of meetings with people and things like that. But as you go further in and flick through, the handwriting becomes more distorted, almost as if at first you think it's because it's written in a hurry, and then as you go through, it's almost like they've been carving words in with a pen, like scribbling it down, and soon they don't become words at all, but almost letters per page. And as you flick through more and more, you see drawings, sketches, not good ones. If anything, you would say a child would have drawn this, of what looks like a kind of like a stick figure, but like a very square body, which looks like maybe a uniform or something to that effect, with a long clawed hand over their shoulder. And it gets more and more intense on the way through, until one page is colored completely in with the ink, with just two white gaps where the eyes should be, and the rest of the book is torn and full of these bizarre drawings.
No. Unlucky bastard. Tucks the journal in the jacket.
And Blue and Rajani, you'll be able to see Spurs probably picking up the book and tucking it in. That's when you see him, as it's close enough.
I'll just hang on the edge of the alleyway, making sure he sees us, but don't want to like call out because don't want to draw attention to ourselves.
Do you make eye contact with him?
I'm trying to.
Spurs, you can see them if you're looking for them, I would say. If you're...
He like gestures like, okay, and then cuts down like a side street and comes up at them from the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay?
Where's Tom?
And you can just say, yeah, as he sort of
From the
slumps
ground.
He's sort of like half sat on the ground, trying to tie some things to tie around his leg to stop the bleeding. I will say, Blue and Rajani, you can just see the blood and a very broken nose across Spurs' face, which it looks pretty split as well. It doesn't look pretty.
Does anyone know how to stitch someone back together?
I think we should get further away.
Yeah, Spurs does, probably. So I want to do a quick scene, but I want to do like a frame by frame so that if it starts to get like too much, we just pause or like bypass.
Okay.
So what I think, my intent right now is to just do a quick moment where like, Blue called it. Spurs marked vicious as his trump. So he is desperate for information because he's at his wit's end. Like, been all over this city with no idea what's going on. It
Or
keeps coming
wanted
back to
felons.
Wainright. What is your deal? What is happening?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, what he would do, I think, is like grab him and with the leg, like just shove him up against a wall and get close up to him. And I have on my playbook a scary or intimidating weapon. So Spurs, from his many strapped-on weaponry arsenal, removes, and I'm not going to hurt him, y'all know what an eel knife is? It's for preparing sushi.
I know what it is.
It's a long knife. I think this knife looks like it's for cutting fish, but it's like serrated, which is completely unnecessary for this kind of thing. But the handle also is designed to look like an eel skeleton. So like you can see it when you're supposed to hold it to like fight, and you can see the handle, and then you can see the blade. So he gets Thomas up and jams the blade like into the stonework next to his face, and he says, "Listen, Tommy, this right here is an eel knife. I got it from a fisher who uses it to split open leviathans. Now, we've been all over Doskvol, from the fanciest houses to the sewers, trying to figure out what's happening to our supply, and it all keeps coming back to you. And I really, just help me understand something, Tommy. Why is that? Why is it that every time we have a problem with the law, with the spirit wardens, with some godforsaken demon, you're always involved? Why is that?"
And he sort of looks towards you. He looks to the knife that is currently right there by his head. It's so close that if he turns too much, it will like press against the side of his face. So he turns and looks back. "I don't know. All I know is that they came to my house to arrest me for fraud, illegal storage, and attempted poisoning. I send you the goods. Okay? So don't fuck with me, Spurs. I give you the blood. Are you doing something to it? Why are my docks on lockdown? And I hear you're off for dinner with the Crowfields. Who, may I say, put out the warrant for my arrest? And you're having dinner with them.
We're gathering information, Thomas.
Also, real quick, my special ability is like looking into a mirror. Was Thomas lying when he said, I don't know?
He was not lying. You can see that dead sort of Pam face. If anything, you think the whole fight that's happened there is because he refuses to be taken. It's not because they found something. You think you get the real element that he's being set up, and at the moment, he trusts no one. You did hear him say he didn't know anything about the 13th floor to
we did hear
the
that.
Spirit Wardens. And Thomas is pushing himself right up to Spurs' face, and I think they're both equally angry right now. Like, it's both an equal sort of thing. It's like,
Now kiss.
it's like, just...
Thomas actually needs to kiss everyone at the 13th
I was going to say,
by the end of the game.
He's got two
Just like
out
a
for if he does that. He's halfway there if he does that. But Thomas sort of looks at you and looks at the eel knife. I don't appreciate this, Spurs.
Yeah, he looks over to Blue. He's like breathing very heavily.
Yeah.
Just the fume. Looks at Blue. I think gets
And I give
look
like
back,
I give a little nod, like, yeah, he's telling the truth.
And he looks. He's like still locked, like super close. Unjams the knife from the wall and tucks it back in. Well, it's a good thing that I don't care about your feelings, Tommy. Now, I don't know is not a good enough answer, but we're all learning here. This is all uncharted territory. So let's all just figure it out together. And it'll start when we figure out what's happening with your leg and why these guys are chasing you. And yeah, we've been doing a little reconnaissance, trying to figure things out, because that's what we do, right? We solve problems that sometimes you make for us. So forgive me if in the moment I'm not particularly excited about having you come in my face and say we're not holding up our end of the bargain, okay? So we're gonna get out of here because that's what we've done. We've come to save your bacon once. We're going to keep you from getting locked away in some cell in some spirit warding holding facility. We don't know what's going on. And we're going to have a nice long chat where we figure out what exactly is happening and we compare notes. And if I don't like the answers, I will turn you into chum and I will leave you in the river.
He leans forwards, he goes, likewise. And there's a real sort of angry on his face right now. It's not the plain look you normally see, but he's like, I love sort of hearing the fact that you think you're the only one affected here. But it's bullshit. We're all being fucked right now.
Rajani just
maybe we should start working together without all of, and he just sort of gestures to you, this.
Rajani is rolling her eyes, and she just kind of like
two men
stands up. Yeah, absolutely. She just kind of like tries to step in between them if she can, with the knife in the way, and says, "Both of you are right, but can we please talk about this somewhere where we didn't just destroy a bunch of carriages and alert a bunch of spirit wardens and bluecoats to our presence? Can we move, please?"
I think Spurs put the knife away, didn't he?
Yeah,
took it out of the wall.
Yeah, I think he's like got the knife away back in the coat, but I think what you would step between is him like jamming his finger in Thomas's chest.
Yeah, so she just kind of like tries to brush his hand aside if she can.
Stop posturing.
Yeah.
As they both sit there and get bigger and bigger each time. As Thomas sort of just looks at you, Rajani, and you do notice the anger sort of soften a little bit as he does.
We have questions for you, Thomas. I'm sure you have questions for us. There's some information I'd like to find out from you as well. Can we please get a move on to somewhere a bit safer than this?
Where do you suggest?
Well, and again, let me know if this isn't how you guys, Alice, how you wanted the crew upgrade to work. But since we headed east, we'll be close to the docks of Brightstone. Could we maybe have our small boat shack?
You absolutely can.
Because that's where the 13th floor is, so I thought like
you want it to be a 13th floor thing, or maybe Blue had something from her past in Brightstone. If it's something that's maybe very run down, but is definitely usable, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
I, for one, like that it's some like a Blue family heirloom.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just been left, but Blue's like, wait a second, I used to, you know.
I think it's like her apartment. It used to be like a crew house, or you'd have like a lot of boats, and it's just like shrunk and gotten more run down as like more of it's gotten sold off, and now it's a straight up shack. It's just like a shack near the edge of the water that technically still says boathouse.
Just boathouse.
Yeah. So it's not much to look at, but that might work in our favor. It's at least got 4 walls and no windows, and it's close to here, so we can hide out there.
Sounds
maybe
good.
a 10-minute walk.
Yes, I don't think we should be going back to the 13th floor right now. So, lead the way.
No. And as we walk towards it, I am using Rajani's subterfuge kit, and in an attempt to diffuse the situation, I'm putting like weird hats on Thomas and Spurs.
It's like glasses and a nose and a mustache.
It's like bunny hats.
Like face doesn't change, just walks as you're doing.
Like an angry face and like a weird hat. And I'm putting like mime makeup on because that is listed in the subterfuge kit, just like theatrical makeup.
I love you. We don't want to attract attention, but
From the
Nobody suspects a mime.
everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, it was the mime who did it." Like,
yeah, I mean,
clown makeup for Rajani, mime for Blue.
and then just 2 men in funny hats. This
Yeah.
is super normal.
Put clown noses on them and call it a day.
Yeah, both look like really mad.
Okay.
Yep.
So
then
you
we're
could
heading
be
to a
doing
boathouse.
this as you head towards this boathouse, and I think that's the perfect time to take a break here. So also Scrat is about to play one of the deck of many videos in between this, so please stick around and have a look. Otherwise, get a drink, stretch your legs, tell your pets you love them, and we will be back in a moment. Bye.
Oh no, Jimmy! Hypno's after us! What are we gonna do? Sword beats face! Huh? Looks like you really lost your edge, huh? Huh? God, I'm funny. So, I guess weapons don't... Weapons don't work! Hey, why aren't you laughing? Oh, I know! Let me hit you with the punchline! Wait! My animated spell cards! They can save us! Well, jeepers, Jane. Blast him! Avada Kedavra! Right in the funny bone. Bleh. I really don't like that guy. We did it! Yeah!
Defeat your greatest foes with the most powerful spells. Animated spells are back, with level 6 to 9. Each spell card features 8 frames of looping animation that makes the spell come to life, and contains all the spell details on the back. And for the first time, you can divine with a fully animated tarot card deck. Will you read Fortune or Folly?
Jane! Techno's reforming! Not on my watch! Meteor swarm!
Go to animatedspells.com and back the Kickstarter today.
hi everyone. We are back and we are headed with some silly hats to Blue's dock house, effectively. So Blue, as we arrive, what does it look like?
It looks like a row of really well-appointed, elegantly built sort of boat houses and crew houses. And they're built in like the style of Doskvol right now, which is it basically just looks like a normal estate house, but like shrunken down. So it still has like the pretty windows and the cornices and everything. And then sort of like the house in up, wedged between two really nice ones, is just this tiny ramshackle shack. And you can just clearly almost like get the idea that it doesn't belong, that maybe the people to the left and right have tried to buy it a million times, because there's no even like airspace. Like it's just shoved between them is a tiny one-story shack with a corrugated tin roof and rotting wooden walls and no windows. And when I go to open the door, it like wobbles dangerously on its hinges. And inside is really more what I would say is like almost like the carcass of a boat. Like it's barely like it's a, maybe we have a different nicer boat because I understand the point of the crew upgrades. We should have a functioning boat. So maybe that one's on the water, but inside anyway is like the remains of a boat.
Okay.
It is not nice.
It is not nice. I mean, you can do it up at some point, but right now it is not nice. Okay. If you're guiding everyone in, is there anything else but a boat here, or is this literally just a boat, floor, and walls?
There are cupboards. And I would say enough chairs for us, like 4 chairs. There's no table, but I'm going to turn basically the empty hull like upside down to kind of serve as a table, and kind of just start searching the cupboards with everyone to see what there is. I would say in true Blue fashion, somehow there is alcohol that's been just fermenting as the years pass in these cupboards.
Old vintage.
Yeah.
So I think you find a bottle of whiskey or something in there. It's been there for a very long time. You actually find it hidden in a cupboard, and it's kind of next to what looks like some maintenance things that would have maintained the shack and the boat, but because no one's been here, it's just not been maintained. So there is the ability of things there. There's paint which has definitely gone off because you can smell it. You sort of see a cat sat at the other end of the dock as it sort of slinks off as it realizes you've sort of barged into maybe what it had claimed as its own.
That's the smell. Cat urine.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But you can find kind of the standard things that you would normally have in a functioning boathouse. It's just all very old. It's gone past, you can see a big needle. And when I say needle and thread, I mean like what you sew nets with, what you would do sails with. Like, do not attempt to stitch anyone up with this kind of thing. It is and it all looks very rusted. You can see a lot of the metal stuff is rusted. As the water you can hear sort of lapping very gently up against this boathouse.
I pull out 2 glass bottles. I'm just gonna say like one of these is paint stripper, one of these is leftover from my 16th birthday party. One sec, and I'm just gonna give both of them a sniff.
I kind of wish I could make you roll for it. Which one it is, but no, I won't.
I think this one's for drinking, and I'm gonna hand it to Thomas.
Thomas sort of looks at it for a moment, sniffs it himself to check because he's not sure, but you notice he only takes one quick swig and hands it over to Spurs. He doesn't drink much of it.
Not thirsty.
Rajani takes it.
Yeah, I was going to say hands it to Rajani.
That time today, I believe.
Rajani's hand comes in like, yeah.
Yeah, she just takes a big old swig and then hands it back to Blue.
If I drink it and don't help out with whatever's about to happen, can I roll for indulge vice?
You sort of take that moment to process everything that's happened. You sit and you drink. You can sit at the edge of the boathouse, sort of on your own. That cat comes up over to you whilst you're drinking. There's a bit of purring and sort of nudging.
Yeah. I'm gonna drink with the cat while you guys do something useful. I'm basically talking. I'm like commiserating with. I'm commiserating with the cat. Yeah, my vice is partying. I'm partying with the cat. I'm just like, rough day, huh? Yeah, me too. Cheers.
Yeah, and you will both see like Blue just take herself away from the group for a moment. Apparently, gain a cat friend and sit and drink, and maybe just try and gain some clarity on what the hell is going on.
When you get to the house party, but you find the pet.
Yeah, you go sit in the corner with the pet.
Yeah.
What does Rajani do there?
She'll stare between Spurs and Thomas for a moment, and then say, "So, we all have a lot of things to discuss. Calmly, I hope."
Thomas is currently like tying up a piece of material, almost like a bandage, around his leg, and he's like, "Fire away."
You rattled off a list of crimes the Bluecoats accused you of before. One of them was attempted poisoning. Did they say anything more about that? Because I have something of a educated guess.
And he sort of rocks his head back and leans it against the wooden walls that are kind, which he sort of leans. He hears them sort of not splinter a little bit, but then sits back up as they sort of seem a bit shaky. Looks at you, Rajani. No, it's not. It was more just listed out to me before. Well, you saw what happened afterwards. Mm-hmm. And he sort of looks at you. He looks towards Spurs. Looks probably at the back of Blue, and then back to Rajani. He's like, "I would never poison stock."
Well, when we were in the Cranwells, gathering information from them, because that's what we were doing there, not conspiring with them against you, we found some of our stock, which has been tainted, poisoned in a way. So maybe that's what they were accusing you of. And she'll take out the vial that has the black smoke in it.
He sort of leans and looks forward. He looks again towards Spurs and Rajani and is like, "I am sorry for accusing, but you have to understand where I'm at right now."
Of course.
And he
but
looks
we did just work very hard to save you from them. Do you think we would have done that if we'd been working against you?
And he pauses like, "I'm not saying this action wasn't appreciated," and looks towards Spurs. "The eel knife so much was not. You have to understand, I feel very used and not trusting anyone. The magistrate said to me that it was merely a complication," and then sort of raises an eyebrow. He's not really looking at you so much, he's looking at the vial, and you can see that black wisp, that very dark sort of shadow, almost grey actually more than anything else, whip around. It is... what is it?
I'm not entirely certain yet, but it seems to be alive, and they had tainted several vials of our blood with it.
You see him just like give a sigh, not at like any of you, but the situation as a whole, as he puts his heads in his hands for a moment and just pushes his hands and runs his fingers back through his hair. Well, this is a mess.
And when we encountered a demon that turned up at your other home to go after you, it reacted to this.
And he pauses and frowns at you. He's like, "Demon."
A demon.
And there's almost like a hint of realization there as an eyebrow raises. I always hated that house growing up. And sort of half chuckles almost at this realization as Rajani describes it. Is that thought it was haunted.
Maybe it was.
Turns out.
I don't know exactly how long it had been there, but it had been there for a long time from what I could tell.
And Rajani, could you make an attune check for me, please? Standard and words controlled.
Okay.
Yeah. You look towards Thomas, and for the first time properly as he sat there, he looks worse than usual. You think maybe he almost looks like he tidied up at one point, and this whole fight has just completely taken him back to where he was, as he's pretty bloodied up himself. And you can see this almost like this smoke, like the smoke in the vial, sort of settle around him, like it's diffusing. And sometimes you see this when someone has come into contact with a demon, not aware of it, not like possessed or not anything like that, but you tend to see it around people who sometimes have come to you and say, look, I swear I'm being followed. I see, I see something at the corner of my eye and it's disappeared again. You know they've been touched by a demon, not necessarily affected, not physically, doesn't alter them, but it's almost like when a demon spends a certain amount of time around a person, it's like it's leaving a residue, kind of like the one that was at the 13th floor.
Okay.
He, from as you can tell, doesn't notice it. He just thought he was haunted as a kid. He thinks the house is haunted. It's probably why he doesn't live there.
Yeah. Would she know why, if that demon's been there for a long time, why suddenly it seemed to be like more active? Like it flew to the front door when someone knocked at the door and everything. Like if it was trying to either harm or kill Thomas actively, like
I can each roll another attune to see that, because you won't get it on that roll, but if you're now particularly looking for that.
Yeah, because it doesn't quite line up in her mind. Like either maybe it's suddenly become more powerful or it suddenly got like a motive to do something. Mm-hmm. Is this still the same?
Same, yes. Yes, please.
While you guys are having this serious conversation, I'm miming around the cat. In the background. I still
putting the hats on the cat as it's slowly. That's it. But Rajani, you get a sense, and on a 3, you don't get a lot. You're not sure if something's blocking you.
Mm.
If it is, you can tell there's no abilities like yours or anything like that around Thomas. Thomas is, I guess, what some people call a norm. There's nothing like particularly no power sort of around him, but from what you can see, you feel like to leave residue like this, demon's been there for a long time, a very, very long time. But it doesn't look like it's necessarily maybe always been powerful. It's more like it's building to something. It's more like it's building. It's had to, and for this, it's probably had to buy its time. The reason it's there is because it's lingering around Thomas.
I think Rajani would probably be sort of muttering this out loud as she's realizing it, and then say, do you think these things, whatever they are in the vials, could be what empowers this demon or other demons? Could they add to their essence, or Could
He
that
looks towards you. He's like, he sort of grumbles a little bit and scratches his stubbled chin. He's like, I don't know. I sort of pauses. Growing up, I was always told I would be going into the family business. My mother, however, did not. I have some understanding of things like this because of my mother, but that was a long time ago. And he sort of pauses for a moment, almost if he's trying to remember something, like trying to recall something as he pauses. I guess it's a possibility that you could infuse two things of demonic origin together, but I don't know why. My
That's
mother
even-
often, and he sort of fingers at blessed items in the house and things like that. She's known for the wards, but my father didn't want me learning any of that sort of thing. As he sort of looks like he's trying to dance around the words because Rajani's here.
Yeah. You won't offend me, don't worry.
He looks at you. I mean no offense. My father did not like it. I am not my father.
A lot of people don't, I know that.
And he nods. He did not wanting me to learn the ways of my mother.
So your mother was like me?
Oh gosh, no. He sort of looks at you again. He called her a witch. But half the time I wasn't sure if that was an insult or if that is exactly what she was.
Well.
I'm gonna just call over from the corner. What was your mom's name?
And you actually see him like pause it. It's like, I always called her mother. You have a feeling this was a very it was a very strict family. You got that feeling definitely Blue from everything else, and he's like, he pauses and scratches for a moment. He's like, I know my father was called Peter, but mother called what? I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to ask her age. I wasn't allowed to ask her name fully. It was mother.
Was it Amelia by any chance?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No. As he sort of pauses,
Isn't Amelia?
and he sort of goes like, I think it was Jessica. I think, but I wouldn't have been allowed to call her that. And you get the feeling he probably had a very strict childhood. And he sort of looks at, I wasn't the most social child. I wasn't allowed to go to parties with them. I was looked after by, and he gestures to Blue, you saw my housekeeper. More of a mother.
Was your house as a kid, did it always feel quite haunted, or did it suddenly start feeling haunted one day?
And he pauses. I don't remember a time when I didn't hate that house.
So let me get this straight. Friends. Thomas, your ancestral home
Correct.
is haunted by some kind of demon.
Well, apparently so, as he looks towards Rajani.
Right. That's after you.
Wait, what? What do you mean
I
after me?
did say that, didn't I?
Yeah, you think this is... He looks very pale because of the loss of blood that he's been trying to stop in his leg.
Yeah.
So if anything, you think he's a little bit delirious over half the things. He's like, I assume so then. I mean, my parents are gone and it's still there.
And that may or may not be connected to the fact that there's some kind of other criminal syndicate that counts among its members the Crowfields, a corrupt magistrate, probably Lady Drake, a certain relation of mine, and who knows how many others who are robbing from both of us and are powerful enough to get you arrested.
That's magistrates for you.
Are these two things connected?
And he looks at you and shrugs for a moment. How so?
Well, are we
there's
separately
somebody's gunning for
unlucky?
you.
Are we separately unlucky or collectively unlucky? Are you just unlucky enough to be haunted by a demon at the same time that...
Well, I would say it's quite possibly linked. I mean, I believe in bad luck, but this is ridiculous.
The demon did react to the tainted vial. The demon was also powerful enough to move right through me while I was holding a demon bane charm in my hand in response to Lady Drake knocking at the door, coming looking for Thomas. Do you think it knew that she was after him, or do you think it thought it was him coming back to the house? Because why would he knock on his own door?
Do you think the demon was afraid of Lady Drake and her goons?
It was going towards them.
Like, you see,
it's hostile.
Thomas laughs. It's just like, she's not that terrifying. She's a jumped-up magistrate with too much power and wants things she shouldn't have, and sort of looks back towards you. If there is a demon, the way most demons work, apparently, as he sort of, again, you think he's thinking back to his mother more than anything else. It's because they sense something on you. They're not chatty.
Spurs, you were the one who fought with the demon. Did you see what it was trying to do when it left the crypt and went towards the door? Was it going directly to the door, or was it like... how was it behaving before you fought it?
Trying to get out.
Through the door?
Oh, yeah.
Right through the spirit wardens who were outside?
Well, if it's tough enough, I don't think it cares, or if it's been down there long enough, it maybe doesn't know that those people are around.
Maybe.
Depends on how old this thing really is. And it would have to be very old to not know anything about orders that have been in place in Doskvol for years. And obviously someone's trying to set up Tommy Boy here. They've got his shipping manifests and records and everything in the Crowfield Manor. And that's tied into this bigger thing because they have our supply down there. That's the Crowfields are involved in whatever process is being done. I think we need to be taking a look at the docks and find out exactly what's happening with the shipments as they're being moved in and out.
Yes, that's a good idea.
I would quite like my warehouses back.
Yes.
I think Spurs is right. We need more information. More than anything. We'll have to go surveil them. And the parts of the operation we've seen, they're stealing from us. We don't really know the details, but I'm not sure if it's important. Then the product is moved through the Crowfields, through a tunnel to the dock ward. And yeah, we need to see who they're selling it to or how they're consuming it or whatever they're doing with it.
And there's also the matter of these people who are behaving strangely. Spurs, you said more of them at the docks, and
Yeah.
the other fact.
They're probably enthralled by whatever's moving this product or whoever's running the whole operation. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say the Crowfields are trying to skim off the top of their own supply too. If they're using it to either strengthen whatever's got its hold on Carlisle, or whatever's controlling Carlisle is putting itself into the product to distribute it across the city.
Oh my God, could this be the way that something like multiplies? Like, sort of like a flower pollinating?
Could be. They do seem to be sort of, assuming the connection to the demon is the thing we should be focusing on. Perhaps they are small pieces of a demon or spirit of some kind trying to spread itself out across the city or even further.
So...
And Thomas moves for a second. He's like, and we're distributing it.
Unknowingly. But that could be why they accused you of poisoning?
And you just say that sort of... Well, the problem is here is I'm being accused of poisoning, which alludes to the fact that means some people have already been affected, but we're not hearing about it. No one is hearing about it.
Could this be why a few days ago the city was abuzz with rumors of a man? Do you remember this? Someone climbing buildings, leaving sooty like trails, the kind of monstrous chimera or whatever it was. In any case, I like the surveillance plan. And you know what that calls for? As I like continue to drink. Funny disguises. More disguises.
You hear Thomas outwardly groan.
We need to be in disguise to go surveil their operation. I think that's logical.
I mean, she has, as drunk as she is, she has a point. They've all seen our faces now.
What's the problem, Tommy? You worry people are going to see you for the clown you really are?
Not quite. Then he sort of pauses for a moment and he looks a bit disgruntled.
Definitely going to give Spurs a very quizzical look. This is meaner than I've ever heard Spurs.
And Thomas sort of looks towards the pile of stuff that Blue has been like shifting around, like these hats, these like things and bits and bobs. Look. Surveillance is obviously a good idea. What are we going to be putting me in?
Well, we have so many options.
I don't... Shh. Oh, I mean, should we bring Thomas in his condition?
I think we all need a rest before we do this, so... we have time to think about exactly how we're going to go about it. Spurs, are you up to this? You took quite a hit.
Why wouldn't I be?
Okay.
I think he's like got his eyes are like a little glassy.
Yeah, no, she's noticed.
He's been like picking his nails with the eel knife.
Yeah. Rajani just kind of
clearly
gets
not
a worried
okay.
glance. Yeah. Rajani gives him a worried glance, but she's kind of like, oh, I don't really want to like get into this now.
I think you need help.
Time for therapy.
Yes, there therapy in Doskvol.
And Rajani is obviously the best person to give it because she's so stable.
And Thomas sort of looks around and is like, as long as we bandage my leg up, should be fine.
What time is it?
It's probably sort of mid-afternoon, more than it's not dark. Well, it's always dark in Doskvol, but it's not like the nighttime kind of thing just yet. You hear less and less people out and about, if anything.
You said that this little shack was like on the water side, right?
Yeah. It's like you can launch a boat from it.
Okay. Yeah, Rajani will say, look, what I did there does take quite a bit out of me, so I would also appreciate some time to rest, if that's all right, before we jump into more shenanigans.
Yes. You guys wait here. Take a rest. I'm gonna bring back food.
Should you be going?
Yes, it's gonna be amazing. And I'm gonna put the cat like around my shoulders.
This cat is just like, oh god.
Obscure my face with a large hat and go off in search of food and some kind of like sewing needle and thread.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can head out. What kind of hat are you putting on? Are you putting on like a bowler hat and something else, or what is this?
I'm putting on like you know those little like newsboy caps? It's just sort of a comically large version of one.
You got a flat cap going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can sort of put that on. You can even shrug on Thomas's coat, which looks very sort of swamped view in it, and you can head out with a cat sort of not too sure why it is, but it is poised around your shoulders as you head out into the streets of Doskvol. But whilst you're out doing that, what does Rajani and Spurs do? Thomas is literally sat there sort of, he takes out one of his knives, walks over and cups some water in his hat and puts it down and starts shaving if he's going to be looking any different. Just sort of sat on the edge, dangling. His feet aren't in the water, they're just above, but he's sat there just shaving with one of his knives.
Well, you need to pick me up? Tommy, you want to splint on that leg? I know a guy.
And he looks over at you. So we talk to clowns now?
No. Doesn't have a license, but knows how to fix up your funny bone.
And it's sort of, again, it's that grunt, that slow. It's like, so why do you hate me so much, Spurs?
It's not that I hate you,
Feels
Tom.
like it. And he sort of sat there as he is still like shaving, as he's doing the same. He's sort of like, he's sat on the edge and he's looking towards you as he's doing it. He hasn't moved towards you or anything.
It's not that I hate you. It's I hate what you make me do.
And he sort of, that nod, which is half a, not a smile, it's almost like, okay, yeah, no, I get that. Like, it seems almost like, yeah. It's like, and what do I make you do? Because I didn't think anyone could make Spurs do anything.
See, that's where you're wrong, Tom. I have to pick up, like a nanny, after every little broken toy and little thing that gets left behind. That is my job. I am a soldier. I go out, I do what I'm told, and I come back. Some people don't understand that when you are in a crisis situation, you keep your head down and you keep moving and you don't make noise, especially in the criminal underworld where people are constantly going at you left and right. So I hope you can understand that when I and he's like been walking over and like plops down backwards on a chair and puts the knife into the counter of the boathouse. When I have a business establishment that I am trying to run and a bunch of people who are very good at what they do, and someone comes at us in our house to take our product away from us, and every single complication that comes up ties back to a guy that won't pay his tab and stays beyond our closing hours and constantly creates new problems for us, maybe, just maybe, I might have a little bit of beef with that guy.
He nods. If the tab is that much of a problem, I didn't realize it was keeping you awake at night. I don't have to come by. And he sort of pauses for a moment as he sort of... He sounds very tired. This doesn't sound like a drawl out. He's just very, very tired. He's like, I don't have to come by anymore. Do you think I come there for the drinks?
I think Spurs, like, gets up and throws the chair, like, behind him. And he just, like, takes 2 steps back and then turns to face Thomas, like, I don't care about the fucking money, Tom. I want you to stop making trouble for me and my friends. Because ever since you sad-sacked your way into our little business, it's been one thing after another, and I can't get any sleep at night because I know in the morning or in the middle of the night, it's going to be something coming up. I'm going to help you figure out who's double-crossing you, and I'm going to put a bullet between their eyes or a knife in their guts. It doesn't matter. One way or another, we're going to bury them. And once we do that together, you and I, we will never see each other again. Is that understood?
Crystal clear. Just one thing. You came to me for the demon blood. I don't come to you. And I know you say you take orders. You are a soldier, and a fine one at that. But maybe you should start thinking for yourself. And it's not like a cocky smile or anything like that. He looks towards you and he's like, because I know you can. You proved that enough today. I do, or I apologize that I caused you so much distress. I will not come round anymore. If you wish to continue the business and the exchange of demon blood, then no problem. I will send one of my employees round. I only dealt with you face to face because I thought it was a worthy business, full of good people that knew how to keep their cool in situations like this. But I will not come round again. And he does a weird smile, which you think is a genuine, he's trying to smile, but it comes off as like kind of weird because you know he doesn't smile often.
I think he looks at Rajani like has this like smirk, like get a load of this guy. Right.
She actually looks a bit scared right now. She kind of, not scared, but just like she's watching both of them. She's been trying to set up to do like a little ritual thing in one of the, like near the water. And then they started having this sort of blowout. And she just kind of has been standing there very still, looking warily between them. And just says, I think emotions are clearly quite high right now, so maybe the two of you should just not speak to each other for a little while.
Agreed. And he goes back and turns and sort of wets the knife again and starts shaving the last bit of his face around the jaw.
And she'll approach Spurs and just kind of, so that he can see what she's doing, sort of reach out to put a hand on his arm comfortingly, but she won't touch until it feels like he's not gonna like react badly to it.
Right. All right, Tom. You want me to bark, right? I know you guys look at me, you my big attack dog, right? Well, I'm not gonna bite you. Not yet. You better give me a better reason. Because if you want to get my goat, there's going to have to be a lot more work for it. You're right, Rajani. I think we do need to see other people for a little bit. So I'm going to do some thinking for myself. I'm thinking, you know more than you're talking about. Whether you say it or not. I don't care if Blue and her magic senses of how people think says you're not lying. Something's on. Something doesn't smell right here. I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
First, there are a lot
how.
of things that aren't right here. It's not just Thomas. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that there's no reason for you to be suspicious of him. But there's clearly a lot at work here that we don't understand. That's why we have to go and check out the docks, right?
I think he's like starting to come down a little bit. Like, you're right. The docks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start there.
Thomas sort of washes his knife and puts it away. He is now clean shaven. There are routes into the docks that I know that we can get in almost without any eyes falling on us. And he sort of really struggles, but he does stand and he winces. Spurs. Sorry. I don't think you're an attack dog. And he starts to walk down to the other end of the dock, kind of removing himself from the situation, and sits where Blue sat. And just sort of leans up against the wall and looks out over the water.
I think Spurs takes a moment, like watches him go, and like wide angle shot of them in this like desolate boathouse with the overturned chair and like the knife sticking out of the counter and everything. And I think Spurs like walks over and picks up the chair and just like sets it back down and like dusts off the counter and looks over at Rajani and leans against the counter like,
You okay?
it's a bad one. This whole thing.
We got a lot more than we bargained for when we found out some of our stock had mysteriously gone missing, didn't we?
Yeah. I got it. It's very hard for him to like start talking about it. I don't know if I can do this one.
We can't do this without you, Spurs.
You kidding me? Blue can talk anybody into or out of any situation. You've got the spark. Odessa's got eyes in the back of her head. Tom's at the heart of whatever's going on here. And I'm just a pair of boots on the ground that can't keep his shit together.
Don't undersell yourself. You're more than just a soldier, but we need you for your physical prowess and your skill in battle, but you're a lot more than that, and you know it.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to do any work for me. I don't need you to wave a magic wand and make me all right. I need you to know that I know.
You know what?
And he like bites his lower lip. I'm scared on this one.
So am I. I've never encountered things like this before, and I've been trained to do this my whole life. It's terrifying.
I want you to know Tom's one thing. After the Unity War, I didn't really have a place to go. I didn't have any people to talk to. You folks are the closest I've come to friends. If I ever hurt any of you, I'd never forgive myself.
I don't think you will. But if it helps, I don't really have anyone else at all anymore, apart from all of you. So I can understand.
Thanks.
Just try to clear your head, get some rest, and maybe don't try to strike up a conversation with Thomas again for a little while.
Not any more than I have to.
No, you can goad him a little bit. In a few hours, calm down a bit first.
He sort of looks down and then looks around like, I did put the fear of the dead gods in him, didn't I?
Oh yeah, you did, and in me too.
He doesn't know what to do about that. He doesn't know how to respond to that. And so I think that's where he just nods and takes a step back and then goes out the front for a breather.
Okay. She'll let him go and just be like, he needs time to unwind by himself, and then she'll return to the little ritual she was setting up, as close to the water as she can. So this would be indulging in my vice to clear stress. So her vice is weird. Wow, so a surprise!
You can do all of that, and you set it up, and I think because you're by the water's edge, Thomas does see you. He sort of looks back. What are you doing?
Just something I used to do back home. Just helps. I don't know if relax is the right word, but after intensive bouts of using abilities, sometimes you just need to clear your head.
And he nods. I go for walks to clear my head.
Oh, I do that sometimes too. But right now it probably wouldn't be very appropriate. Don't want to draw more attention. My walks aren't just walks, so...
No. And he sort of half smiles at that. And you can see a softer sort of face now that he's away from the situation.
Yeah,
Probably on both their sides. And he looks at you. Forgive me for asking, so are you a witch like my mother was, or are you something else?
People seem to use different words for it everywhere, and sometimes those words are used as compliments, and sometimes somewhere else they're used as an insult. So I don't really know what to call myself now that I'm in Doskvol. But when I was back home, I guess we just called ourselves Whispers. I don't know if that term is used here, but...
And he nods slowly. Apologies for earlier with... He just sort of gestures towards the door where Spurs left. I genuinely don't mean to antagonize.
I know you don't.
And he looks at you and he said, I don't talk to a lot of people. So I don't know if what I say is good or bad sometimes.
I can relate.
And he chuckles at that as well.
I can understand why Spurs feels the way he feels.
It does seem to all come back to me, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, yes. But I trust Blue's judgment. So I'm happy to go off the assumption that you're telling the truth. I also don't... Well, we'll see what happens, I guess. But clearly there are things at work here that we don't understand, like I said to Spurs. So I think before we jump into conclusions, we should try and gather as much information as we can.
He nods slowly. Thank you for believing me. I understand. As he sort of like runs his hand sort of just in front of his head, like, I don't necessarily look like the most believable person or sound it. Not.
People have said the same about me, so who am I to judge?
And he looks at you very squarely for a moment, as if he's not reading you, it's not that, he's just looking to you. I'm not a liar. I don't socialize very well, I don't. And I mean it when I said I don't have friends. I don't. People don't like me. But I'm not a liar. I will never be called a liar.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel like people don't like you.
And he sort of struggles, half stands up, more to walk away to leave you to keep doing your weird. As he sort of stands up and hobbles a few steps, like, I have lied once, though, and I am sorry for that.
What was that?
I don't drink. And he starts to walk back down the other end of the boathouse and sits himself on that chair, almost as if he's been waiting for it to free up a little bit. And we'll hop over to Blue. And Blue, what do you look like walking through the street with your disguise on?
I'm trying to look like a crazy old cat lady. So I'm like hunched over. I'm like talking to the cat. I'm obviously like filthy. I'm doing an imitation of like a creaky old lady voice. And I'm just trying to very discreetly buy to like be helpful. So I'm just trying to buy kind of like 4 pretty cheap dinners. Mm-hmm. Maybe like just some kind of like warm meat pie. And then like very basic, like kind of like first aid kit stuff, mainly sewing needle, thread, and whatever passes for disinfectant in Doskvol.
Alcohol.
Yeah, probably just like really strong alcohol, I guess.
I'll say first of all, the cat does try to escape, but after a sort of a mini kind of fight, you manage to keep hold of this animal. It is a very, very bright ginger cat. It looks a bit manky at the edges, but more just because it seems to have been sleeping rough rather than anything else. You can go from shop to shop. And because of how you look with like the dirt, probably a bit of the smell that's come from where you've been walking through, people just like give you stuff and they want to get you out their shop.
Yeah.
But you manage to get all of these things as you go. And as you start heading back towards the dock area, you walk past the 13th floor at a distance, and you can see bluecoats and spirit wardens filing in. They break the door down. They start to pour into this place and fill it out. And sort of stood by the door giving orders is the magistrate.
Lady Drake.
Lady Drake, filing them all in, as she does. And could you roll me in a tune, please?
Why, yes. Oops. Sorry.
Controlled and standard, sorry.
Oof, 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Then you don't feel anything. You don't feel anything strange or anything to that effect as you watch them all pile in. But just behind Lady Drake, maybe just not the street over, but stood by one of the alleyways, you see Carlisle, the Crowfield.
Yeah.
And he just watches them go in, tip his head, as he watches all of them file into the 13th floor. And then he turns back and looks you directly in the eye in this sort of outfit, this disguise. It's a bit of a smile. There's a wink. And he turns and walks back down the alleyway as it starts to get darker and darker. And I think we'll leave it there this week before we get to catch up with Odessa as to where Odessa is right now. Otherwise, everyone, please check out all of these lovely people you see around the table here. They all do wonderful things and wonderful stuff. So please go check them out. Please check out the links coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We do have a channel just for this game, and we would love to hear what your theories are on what on earth is going on. Also, if you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube and catch up on everything over there. All of our games are put into playlists, so it's easy for you to watch through them. And also, if you want to get into a game, head over to Twitter and drop Scrat a DM. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Maychan Press. You can check out their Fae Folio on Wednesdays, which is one of our viewer games if you want to come and try it out. They also created Dark Matter, which is D&D in space, which is a wonderful thing. We also have Hero Forge with their minis, their color printed minis. We are currently testing out their beta, and it is so good with all of the textures and all of the different colors, and how you can really make the mini your own. So please check that out as well. Also, the Deck of Many, their Kickstarter is soaring. It is doing amazingly well right now. Please go check out their Deck of Many Things, the moving magic spell cards, and also in the Kickstarter, the moving tarot cards, which are some very exciting stuff. They're gorgeous. Go check them out. They also created Humblewood, which is one of our viewer games, which is the game after this. So if you want to be come and test that out, drop Scrat a DM and we will get you in that. And last but certainly not least, also Dungeon Fog. It helps you create your maps and keep all your notes coherent and together. And every time you alter one or the other, it updates the other one so that everything works how it should. I love it. Also, we didn't finish on Rajani being, having a weird thing this week, so it was blue. Otherwise, keep evoking emotions, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.